Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. In January, we're wrapping this thing up. We're 1 month into the season, the spring planting season. It's virtually here. There are a couple things you should feel angst about. You should feel anxious. You should want to kind of prepare getting things ready. And one is soil preparation. The other is pruning. I mean, you need to get these things are kind of in the way. So during nice days, there's time. But when you got a nice day, go out there and enjoy the fresh air, enjoy the sunshine, and get your gardens ready. Because planting season is March 1. You start with potatoes and garlics and onions. Some of you at the lower elevations, you're at the end of February. We're basically a month out before we start. We're already starting to get like the 2024, their seed are here, freshly tested. They're 90% plus germination rate, very good quality seed. They're just here. So it's just starting the 2024 pottery. It's here. The things are happening at the garden center. The fruit trees show up this week. So that's this year, spring crop will show up. So you're here. One thing that I've kind of completed this week, soil preparation. You really do want to get your soil ready ahead of time. You want to load it up with organics and manures. And I'll share what I've done in my gardens. My name's Ken. We're just friends over the airwaves, and we're talking gardening. This is working in my backyard. I think it'll work in yours as well. So a couple things. We'll show you how to do that. But you want to get your soils ready because you're going to load them up with lots of organic material. Sometimes that makes your gardens, the soil hot, or it has too much nitrogen. It can burn brand new seedlings. And so you want to have it settle, kind of let it just even out for a few weeks before you go plant. That's why you want to start, March 1, I want to back up about a month and start my soil prep there. I want to start my seedlings before the March 1. So if you're going to plant broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, lettuce, all those early spring vegetables, you want to start those several weeks before you're putting them out in the garden. I know the frost dates. Yeah, but Ken, all my neighbors say don't plant before Mother's Day. Well, those aren't gardeners. Those are yardners, what I call them. They're backyard folks that are out there only when the weather is perfect. They're not trying to get more beauty for an extra 6 months out of the year with early spring plantings. They aren't trying to increase their harvest because they're doing early spring and summer and a fall planting. That's gardeners take care of all of the seasons. Yardiners, I know it's a play on words. I know I just made that up, just came to mind and just kind of threw it out there, but they're not real gardeners. Those folks only plant summer. They're just tomato gardeners. That's Mother's Day. We start planting the summer things, but between March and then, that's 2 months ahead. We're planting all the early spring. The first crop of pansies just showed up. And so they are starting to kind of be here. Hold on just a second. I've got this. What is going on with my cancel? Remember, folks, if you're on the airwaves, you should turn your phone off. Oh my gosh. I apologize for those watching this via video on YouTube or Apple or Spotify. Sorry about that. So off. There we go. I thought I'd done that, but my watch went off. Anymore, we're like cyborgs. We've got multiple devices plugged into us. We've got earbuds, phones, and watches all connected, telling us you've got a phone call and it's spam. You want to answer it? No. Anyway, back at it. Sorry about that. So soil, what I've done is I've got a lot of raised beds. That's mainly where I do most of my flower and vegetable gardening. So I do a lot of containers. So that's a little bit different. I don't have time to touch on that. I'll see if I can, but your raised beds are just out there in the yard. You really want a 2 to 3 inch layer of fresh, new organic matter topped over the entire garden bed. And you want to turn that into the garden soil 1 shovel's depth, or about 1 rototiller, however you're turning your soil to that depth. So you want to work that into there. You want to pull out all those old roots, anything that was left over there, the debris. Those are not your friend. Those carry disease. They compost in the ground. They rob the next spring's plants of nitrogen. But if you take all those old roots from last year out of there, and then you put a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch and manure is what I did. I like manure. This is the time when you add manures to your yard, but manure is hot. It's very high in nitrogen, which makes your seedlings grow like crazy, like wildflower. I mean, like wildflowers, like wildfire, boom, takes off. And so you want to add a 2 to 3 inch layer. And I just take it back. Here's what I do. Whatever open bag is at the garden center, I just take some of those because I've already paid for them and they're mine. I just kind of, instead of putting a piece of tape on them and try to sell them to you, I just take them home and I use them. So, and it's about a 50-50 blend, manure and composted mulch. So the mulch we have, we composted for over a year, screened down to 1/4 inch minus. It's very fine. It looks like rich. It almost looks like a large coffee ground. It's like that. The manure we have is composted an extra 6 months just so we can deodorize it. I find it offensive to sell customer gardeners stinky, gross things I put in the back of your Lexus. It's just rude. I'm not going to do that. So we take the extra time to deodorize it. So it's not, in fact, you can't even tell it's manure. It looks like compost, but it's richer. And so you want to do a 50-50 blend over that raised bed, over that garden plot, and then turn that into 1 shovel's depth. Now, there's a couple things I add to that. I'm a kind of a lazy gardener. I want to add as much as I can. And if I'm going to take a shovel and turn things down, I'm going to power up the rototiller. I want to till it all at once. I don't want to do it 2 or 3 times, just once and done. I'm out. So I put that layer of organic matter, mulch, and manure. I'll add my fertilizer for spring. So I make a fruit and vegetable food. It's an organic food, but I like that one, either for flowers or vegetables, either one. It's made for vegetables, fruiting and vegetable crops, because it's loaded up with calcium. Calcium is what helps you get a bigger, more flavorful fruit or vegetables. If you want bigger blackberries, fruit and vegetable food. If you want bigger tomatoes, cucumbers, sweeter peppers, fruit, vegetable food. Because of the calcium. The calcium is what helps it also eliminates blossom end rot. There's a lot of benefits with calcium, but it's a 6-4-4-7 formula. The 7 is 7% calcium. I add the recommended amount of that. I add some gypsum at the same time because I like to grow tomatoes. Many times your blossom end rot, that black spot that forms, that's a calcium deficiency. And it just it's from your soil. If you know that's where it's coming from, load it up. So I add the fruit and vegetable food, gypsum, and sulfur. Those 3 things. Sulfur. The reason I'm adding sulfur, this is unique. This Midwest folks, tune in. You're used to adding hydrated lime to your soil. You're always trying to raise the pH of your soil. We never do that here. Our water is so alkaline. If you were to add more lime to your soil while you're turning this in, you would just sterilize the soil. It would be you take your pH and put it off the charts. And so your backyard, wherever you're tuned in, I'm tuned in from Sedona, I'm different. You're not. I'm from Camp Verde, I'm different. You're not. I'm from Mayer, Dewey, Humboldt, Prescott Valley. You are the same as the rest of us. Oh yeah, but Skull Valley, Baghdad, we're different. No, Paulden, Skull Valley, we're all the same. Chino, you're the same. We have very alkaline water and terrible soil. So you got to help plants with this. So you got to change the texture by adding some organic matter, and you need to change the chemistry by lowering the pH. Sulfur lowers that pH. If you put your mulch, your manure, your food, fruit and vegetable food, I like that one specifically made for here. It's pelletized. It just works right in. Sulfur, gypsum, you are going to have a magical, unbelievable harvest. Just so many tomatoes, you're going to bring them into the garden center to garden class and just give them away because you can't deal with all. There's so many off of 3 plants. You got to be kidding me. It's going to be that kind of, so many cucumbers. So many folks complain about their cucumbers and eggplants. They just don't form well. Well, that's the reason. The nutrients are not quite heavy enough. Turn that in 1 shovel's depth. Let it set for a few weeks. Pray for snow and rain. Kind of have that soil kind of settle and percolate. You're going to be ready to plant potatoes, garlic, onions, cauliflower, lettuce, broccoli, starting in March.
Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our Arizona Gold Euonymus.
An excellent choice for colored hedges and as tough as they come.
This evergreen displays bold gold, head-high foliage that grows even thicker when sheared.
A single shrub makes a bold statement, but in rows they make excellent visual and sound barriers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love bold gold hedges, they love to shop.
You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lain in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about? So you have been like one industrious little bumblebee, my little dear.
Little bumblebee?
It's something like that. It came out of my head. Yeah. So you've hired lots of people. You've been interviewing like crazy. You've got roses in. You got teams of people cleaning, sweeping, setting
Spring
tables
is
up.
coming.
It's coming. It's
Spring
not
is
here,
coming.
but we're getting ready, huh?
We're getting ready. I can
Yeah.
feel it. There's like the excitement out there. People are definitely ready to be outside this year.
I was telling folks that the classes are
Yeah.
large, so
Yeah.
it's there's some energy there, and I think part of it is we've just been pent up way too long.
Definitely.
You can only bake cookies so long, and finally you just put on 10 pounds. You need to get outside and do something.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I've baked enough cookies to last a
Oh.
lifetime.
So, what kind of garden questions do you think we have that
Sure.
would be interesting?
You bet. So Catherine's out in Chino.
All right.
She wants to know, is it too early to be planting fruit trees yet? And then it's a two-part question. So
Here
pay
we
attention.
go, Catherine. Oh,
Yes.
only one and done.
Second part, well, actually, maybe it's a three-part. Are all peaches self-pollinating? So
Easy.
peach trees.
Okay.
And then second one, which is third, which is the best cherries for this area?
Okay. So that's when, Catherine, you should take the 10-mile drive and visit us here at the garden center. It's worthwhile.
It is.
But real quickly, we can go over in 90 seconds or whatever over the airwaves. Yes, you can plant fruit trees right now. It is a very good time. So grab them while you can.
Mhm.
We even just got some apricots in.
We did.
We could not find apricots to save us last year. There were none. So we plugged more and we got them in. They're fully rooted and they look really good.
They do.
So
They look nice.
they're going to fruit,
Mhm.
and they're a fruiting age, so they'll produce well for you. Going back to, can you plant? Yes. Peaches, pitted fruits generally are self-pollinated or self-fruitful. Once it only takes one. It's got the male and female flower in the same tree. So peaches, all the peaches are self-pollinating. All of the apricots self-pollinating. Many of the plums are. Cherries 50-50. So it just depends. They all do better if you can get different varieties. Put a Glenhaven and a Red Baron or an Alberta and a Ranger. You can put two varieties out there. You'll do better. The fruits will be bigger, but it will produce by itself.
Mhm.
And the other one was cherries.
Best cherries.
Cherries are going to be, generally takes 2 cherries to have good cherry crops. Now there are some varieties like your Lapins. I think the sour cherries, all the pie
Stella.
cherries. Stella's a sweet cherry that will produce up by itself. So there's some, but they'll do better if you got multiple. So Bing, Black Tartarian, that takes 2. So generally in Chino Valley, you got a little bit bigger properties out there and unlimited water, a lot of you. So get 2.
Yeah.
But if you want, you can have 1. We've also got a number of, they call them cocktail trees. We've grafted several varieties of peaches or an apricot peach and several varieties of apples on the same trunk. So one tree can have 3, 4, 5 different varieties of fruit on the same tree. Now they're designed to fruit help each other fruit better. So now you just have one and they all pollinate each other. So there's ways around it. And we're trying to bring in more of those cocktail trees because there's so many small yards here. The smaller lots, you just don't have room for 3 trees. You have room for 1, but I want apples. We got you covered here at Waters Garden Center. So
yeah, that's true. We're actually getting some really cool trees. I'll probably talk about it next week.
Okay.
But we are getting some pretty cool fruit trees in. Yep. But our next question is from Lena. Wants to know, she's new to the area, wants to know when is the best time to be putting in those cool season veggies, your lettuce, kale, Swiss chard. When do you plant those?
Well, I had someone obviously from the Valley or Palm Springs or someplace. They were looking for tomatoes. Going, it's just not time. So, but cool season. Yeah. We probably have those coming in. So the roses arrived. So probably the cool season will be in a couple of weeks. So usually just after Valentine's, we'll start bringing in all the leafy crops. So like Lena's asking, the cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, all the things you're harvesting, the foliage or the stems, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, lettuce, will all be in then. And you can put those in now. So get your soils ready right now and let it percolate. Pray for another storm. Get it all set. And then you need some moisture to kind of settle things down. And then by the end of this month, the latest, you can start putting those things in the ground. I would say potatoes, onions, garlic, asparagus, all that stuff, strawberries, they can probably all start going in by the end of this month. But for sure, March, you are full plant mode by then. So it's time. Lena, come talk to us. Come visit. We're lonely here.
No. Well, yeah, we are. All right. Gary says, I didn't think camellias would grow here, but a neighbor told me you carry them. Do you have them and will they grow here?
Yeah, so good. Gary, I'm glad you're neighborly and you've got garden neighbors. So they're kind of getting you going. Yes, there's like 2 or 3 varieties. So most camellias, no, will not grow here. They're more of a tropical plant. But there are a couple hybrids that they figured out how to get more antifreeze in them. It's all about the cold winters. That's what takes them out. We've got one called Ice Princess series.
Ice Angel.
Ice Angel, basically with the word ice or snow in their name, and you know they're hardy. The flower will be maybe 4 or 5 inches across, not the ones that are as big as your hand, right? But they compensate for just more blossoms. They'll have twice as many as a standard tree type of camellias, let's say from California you're used to. That's probably Gary's from the West Coast. We'll call them out, but they grow a lot of beautiful camellias in the Northwest, that area. Yeah. They can grow here too. They'll generally be shrubs, not a tree. And generally they'll be maybe chest high or so. They generally like a little more shade than sun, although they'll take some sun. They just don't want that midday in June.
Right.
That's really hard on them.
None of us do.
Yeah, especially camellias. But yes, you can grow those. I only have those in the winter because it's a winter bloomer. As soon as maybe we've got 40 or 50 of them right now. When those are out, we're gone for the season until the next winter. And they are very heavily budded right now, like a rhododendron. They've got that big, heavy bud on them. So it's time to plant those, get them in the ground, put them in pots. They're great at the front door in a big container. They're glorious. They're evergreen. They smell good. They got a lot going on for them. Underneath a covered patio or something. That's a place to put them. Yeah,
definitely. Well, by golly, you're short-winded today. Usually I have 3 questions and then we never finish them all.
So what's the most exciting? You've had so many plants that came in this week. What's the most exciting thing you've seen that you kind of went, oh, I want one of those at our house, which we're packed, but there's always room for one more. Well, whatever.
Okay. Well, we got 2 loads of houseplants in this week. So if there's a houseplant that we don't have, I would be amazed.
It's a jungle in there.
It is amazing. And I'm going, I want that one and that one. And I'm like, oh, I'm already got a lot, but I have a few picked out. I got a Rex begonia.
Oh, nice. Is it in bloom?
No, but it's got some buds, so it's going to bloom. But the leaves are gorgeous. They're kind of a red, gray. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. I don't know right where I'm going to put it. It's going to drive you nuts.
No, I like it. So in our house,
As long as you're pretty, you're welcome. The second you get any kind of ugliness to you, it's in the dumpster. Or you're put on the front door to freeze to death.
True. But I've had very good success lately.
Yeah.
I haven't killed a houseplant in a long time.
We are out of time, Lise.
Yep.
Thank you very much for being here. Great questions this week. So Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners.
Waters Garden companions of February are peony, Calgary carpet juniper, pinyon pines, and lily of the valley.
You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Garden Show with garden expert Ken Lain. Join the conversation daily as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Or visit face-to-face throughout the week where he can be found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
At the start of the show, I had mentioned that there's 2 things you really need to be focused on. I mean, you should feel like I need to get out there and start the season. That was preparing your soil. Told you how to do that. That was the first segment. And then also pruning and cutting things back. So getting your perennials cut back, cutting back your fruit trees. Now through middle of March is your window. So it's a big window, but you should want to finish this thing up. So I'm kind of done with mine. And one of the mysteries I find folks have, last week's garden class, one said, again, I've got 3 big pampas grass. 2 of them grow really well. One of them just languishes. It doesn't do anything. What's going on? Help me. And so with all of your ornamental grasses, this is pampas grass, fescues, Miscanthus, deer grass, zebra grass, all your pretty decorative, sedges, grasses, that kind of stuff, not yuccas, not agaves, not bear grass, which really isn't a grass. It's something different. It's a native evergreen kind of thing that grows out there in the valley areas. I'm talking about your regular ornamental grass. Pampas is the most famous. That's that big grass, gets head high, has these great big plumes on top of it, covered. Right now it starts to look a little rough just because it's rain and snow, kind of beats them up. The plumes have kind of limped over. They aren't as fluffy as they were because they're being beat up. You need to cut those back to about knee high. All other grasses, you're cutting back to about ankle high. So you really cut back on them. If you don't do that, what will happen is that the green that's there now will start to brown as the shorter days, the cold, it just beats them up. If you don't cut them back, you'll get this brown with this green on your grasses. And so other grasses, like let's say Miscanthus, or I've got grama grass. I just cut my grama, native ornamental grass, grows about just shy of knee high. Beautiful, beautiful plumes on it or flowers to it. It's beautiful and native. I hardly care for it, but I cut it back. I fertilize it every winter. Now is the time. And so I'm cutting those things back. Grasses are very fast growers. They're going to elongate and be just as big so that you cut back this pampas grass by 4, 5, 6 feet. It's going to grow that much again this coming season. I mean, really quickly, starting in March, grasses start to grow. In fact, some of them I started to see some green shoots coming up. And so they're waiting to take off. Now to grow that much and then to plume with this beautiful grass, Miscanthus. It's got this beautiful pink hue to it. It's just stunning late summer and autumn. And so it takes a lot of energy to do that, which means food. Grasses need more food than other plants in the gardens if you want beautiful ones. Do they need it? Do they have to have it? No, but they'll be weak and limp and they'll die out in the middle. They just won't bloom as well. But if you feed them, if you cut them back and feed them, they are just like rock stars. They are beautiful in the garden. They are the showpiece because they're gathering up wind. They float around in the wind, kind of the slightest of breeze. They just add drama. Butterflies love them. Birds like to take the seed heads and use them as a food source or nesting. There's a lot of benefits. And we are in this higher elevation of Arizona. We're in grass country. I mean, we grow grasses without all the issues that a lot of other parts of the country have. So whack on those things. Don't be afraid. You almost can't make a mistake with ornamental grasses. So just whack on them. With pampas grass, you'll see these curlicues about, 18, 24 inches off the ground. You cut it back to there. Just whack it off, throw the rest of it away, add it to the burn pile, compost them, just chuck them in the dumpster. Either way, just clear them out of there. And then fertilize it. Now, for this, if one is not performing as well as maybe others, there's a reason for that. It's going to be soil related. You just don't, there's a rock shelf, there's caliche layers, something's going on. Yeah, but Ken, they were all planted the same. They're all exactly the same. They should all grow exactly the same. There's nothing exact about your soil in the mountains of Arizona. Every single hole, one that's just a few feet away, is different. How the soil drains through it, how much organics, what roots are competing for the resources under the ground. Plants are trying to get the most, protect their root zone so they can grow. And you just don't know. I've seen so many holes. You're digging out this huge chunk of this boulder out of this hole, and that makes a difference. So something's going on that you don't see. That's why that one is languishing. It's not, or maybe you got some grubs or something. Something's going on there. But what I told this gal was, hey, take a bag of manure, cut it back, take a bag of manure, just put it around your pampas grass. I think that extra nitrogen and organics are going to be a game changer for that plant. And so if you're doing it, do it to all three of them. Don't hold back and go, this one's special, I'm gonna make them grow. This one, you're held off, trying to even you out. Just treat them all as special children. You're trying to grow out in the backyard, and you want the most out of them. Here's what made these others happy. I want you to be happy too. Everyone gets some. And then fertilize it. I would say grasses would benefit most from 744 all-purpose plant food. The reason I say that, it's got bird guano and cottonseed meal in it. Those two ingredients, grasses love bird poop. I mean, they just love it. They feed off it. They grow faster. And the cottonseed meal is what grows huge plumes. You get better, showier grasses. So fertilize it, manure it, cut them back, and you'll be set the stage for just stunning, the most beautiful grasses on the street in your neighborhood.
Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our Arizona Gold Euonymus.
An excellent choice for colored hedges and as tough as they come.
This evergreen displays bold gold, head-high foliage that grows even thicker when sheared.
A single shrub makes a bold statement, but in rows they make excellent visual and sound barriers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love bold gold hedges, they love to shop.
The Top 10 Gardener, your source for timely garden advice, seasonally correct for the garden, guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
And we are back with Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners, here every week. And we talk about, whatever Lisa wants to talk about in this segment. And so you are just the most chit-chatty person that I know.
I am?
Not even remotely chit-chatty. She can go through life and I need 25,000 words a day so I feel good about myself and others. Mm-hmm. You only need it per week.
I'm a woman of few words.
You sure are. But I'm glad you're here sharing with us. So I'll try not to use my 25,000 words.
So Valentine's Day is a-coming, folks. Do you have your special person their Valentine gift yet?
So a gardener, I gather? Actually, I do. I'm all set. I've been set for a month. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay. Well, I'm not, but
You'll be so surprised. Can't wait.
So Valentine's is a-coming. And so most people think, chocolates, right? Roses, flowers. Yep. But if you have a gardener in your life, I have a few suggestions for you. A couple of house plants, things that we got in. Now, those of you not watching the vlog won't be able to see this.
Describe it in so many words.
So the first plant I have is an anthurium, which is actually the state flower for Hawaii.
I did not know that.
It is. So if you want a nice, really pretty red bloomed flower, the anthurium is terrific. The bloom is actually very heart-shaped.
Yeah.
and they last
They
forever.
bloom like
So
months.
you can get cut flowers that will, by the end of the week, they're gone. But you get them a blooming plant and you got color for a long, long time. So anthurium is probably one of my favorite. I love
Yeah.
the big green leaves that contrast with that bright red foliage, bright red flower. It's beautiful.
So it's got a heart-shaped flower, just a little bit shy. It's the size of a child's hand, so it's not quite as big as yours, but close. The leaves are nice waxy leaf, and the stamen on it's a bright yellow compared to the bright like blood red. It's not even blood red. It's brighter red than that flower. It's like heart red. It screams hearts and valentines.
It does.
Just a pretty little plant that blooms forever. And this is a floral grade. It is happy as can be.
Definitely an indoor plant.
Oh,
You
yeah.
want to keep them indoors. You'll be happy there. Bright room, likes the moistures, a little humidity is terrific for it.
Why not have a little Hawaii in your home? This is the state flower for Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Well, there we go.
Yes, there you go. So that is one option for you. The other one I have is a bromeliad. So the thing I like about bromeliad, you talk about long blooming. So bromeliads have that big, beautiful flower that comes out of the center. It can be red, it can be pink, it can be yellow, a lot of different colors. But they will bloom almost up to a year.
Yeah.
That bloom will last.
Yeah.
So I think they're better than orchids because orchids, I mean, beautiful, not knocking orchids, but when they don't bloom as long as a bromeliad does.
They bloom a month or two. These bloom for a year or two.
Right.
Totally different scale.
Oh, definitely.
It almost looks like a pineapple or something.
It does.
Like
it has
like a flower. That bright
flower.
red
Mhm.
flower coming up, just kind of erupting out of this, almost like a yucca kind of leaf to it.
Mhm.
Bright green and that bright, that is a blood red kind of color to the flower.
Yeah.
And you can sit that in an office.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll look like a gardener, but you don't do anything for it. That's great.
So it's just beautiful.
How many
definitely.
colors of these do we have?
So
Just
we've
red?
got, I brought in more of the Valentine colors. So we have a dark pink one and we got 2 different colors of red
Good.
in. So, but just really attractive foliage, nice color, lasts forever. So it's a very good option for your Valentine.
And the price is right. So you can afford to buy one of every color for the garden Valentine and
There you go.
your love, your life.
So those are 2 options. If you want, we also have African violets, which I didn't bring over, but I got some beautiful African violets
neat.
right now
All in
too.
bloom.
All different colors, all in bloom, really gorgeous. But another option, of course, Valentine's roses. Everybody thinks of roses. So instead of getting a rose that's only going to last a week, get a rose that can be planted in a pot or a rose that can be planted in the ground. It'll last you years and years and years.
Yeah.
So I brought in, so we got in we call them dormant roses. I'll let you hold that.
It's pretty heavy. This is fully rooted.
So yes, so it is dormant. So it doesn't have the leaves or anything on it yet. But you see that big pot, it's a fiber pot. I don't know if you can see it.
No.
It's a big
And I
fiber
don't want to get all
pot.
this dirt on my
I
keyboard.
know.
I mean,
It's
I'm
fine.
nervous.
But what I want to say is that pot is full of roots. So it's not root bound, but it's got a nice root structure to it. So when you put it in the ground, it's not going to curl up and die.
Yeah.
And go, oh my gosh, it's cold, it's wet. It's going to have a nice heavy root structure to it. So it's going to leaf out in the spring. You're going to get beautiful blooms on it this year. If you look at the canes, and I think that's the one thing you got to realize, there are grades in dormant roses.
Yeah.
Definitely different grades. The canes on this one are as big as my index finger. I mean, they are big and hefty, and they're going to really produce some nice.
So they've got
stems for
roses.
you.
They've got A grade, B grade, C grade, and they even have a below grade that.
Mhm.
We only carry A grade, so it's bigger, more balanced, 3 to 5 balanced canes. They actually go through a conveyor belt and they actually grade them out. And then the size of the canes. So they got wimpy canes and substantial canes. And what you want for $5 extra, you can have a really good grade of rose, or you can pinch a couple pennies and you'll struggle for 3 years before it finally catches up and blooms like a grade A rose would grow. So the quality does matter, and you don't necessarily see it unless you put them side by side, or you're a gardener and you've you've put a few of these in the ground, you just know, dang it, that didn't work out the way I wanted, or oh my gosh, I am a gardener. That's quality or
Right.
skipping on things.
So I was at one of the box stores.
Don't say which one, but it's
I
blue or
won't.
orange.
But they had a whole display of bare root roses.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they
know.
were already leafed out.
Oh my
So what
gosh.
happens when you take this poor tender little bare root rose and you put it outside in the cold right now?
Yep.
It's not going to be happy, people.
Yeah.
So you spend a little bit more, but you are getting a quality rose that you can put out there and enjoy this summer. So we got all different colors in, but a couple I want to mention that are usually a little harder to find that people always look for. So the Joseph's Coat Climbing
Nice.
Rose. So we got quite a few of those, and that one it's just hard to find, but it's
Yeah.
very popular. It's got the orange and yellows and pinks. It's a multicolored rose, just spectacular. We also got quite a few of the Double Delight, which is another really popular rose. It's a white with a pink edge to it, but the fragrance on that one will knock your
amazing.
socks off. It
Yeah.
is absolutely beautiful. We got Sugar Moon, which is probably my favorite rose, which I don't know why I don't have one planted at the house yet.
I don't know. You know what? I've got one that's kind of overgrown. I'm kind of getting tired of it. I
Not the
wouldn't
one at
mind
the
a Sugar
front.
Moon
Okay.
in the back,
Okay.
in a pot.
All right. Just checking.
You bring it home, I'll find a way to.
So Sugar Moon has a big white flower on it, and it's another one that just smells amazing. You get anywhere near it, and you're like, "What is that
It's
smell?"
even better than a gardenia or jasmine or something.
Yeah.
It's got quite the smell.
Definitely. So, what other ones do we have? Oh, we're out
I
of time.
think you're out of time. They just got to come in and take a look. If you're
You
thinking
should.
of roses, now's the
We have
time.
a nice selection.
This is what we'll have until the end of April. And then we'll get one more little load. And then we'll have another 1,000 roses show up in April. They'll all be in bloom. So, but now's the exotic colors, the different ones you just can't get then. You get them now. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardener.
Water's garden companion plants of February are Calgary carpet juniper, lily of the valley, pinyon pines, and peony.
Your grandmother would fall in love with these larger peony with so many colors to choose from.
There's nothing like the enormous flowers to add stunning pops of color.
Endearing springtime blooms are more than fragrant with luscious double flowers. You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Additional shows of this podcast, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook, Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
This weekend's garden class is on how to grow wildflowers. And the reason that we have a class every Saturday at 9:30, we have a class. The topics change. This weekend, it's how to grow wildflowers and why January is the best month to start wildflowers, or I'd say by the end of February. If you can get it in before Valentine's, perfect. And here's the reason why. It seems counterintuitive unless you're a gardener, but seed, this is a blended seed. So you get wildflower mixes or blends. So there's 10, 20 or more varieties of seed in each of our mixes. We custom make our mixes. So there's a butterfly, there's a deer and rabbit resistive, there's a Arizona, there's a native mix. And so there's only a poppy mix, just California poppies, only with more than just orange. It's got reds and yellows and pinks and whites. It's really pretty. The reason that you're putting them in January, these are wild seed. And so some of them are so light and fluffy, they float away. Some are so hard and crusty, they just have this shell that you just can't get through. And so these types of seed that are truly wild, they're truly native perennial types of seed. That is, they're going to come back and grow bigger and better every year. Many of these need to go through this freeze thaw cycle. They need to be frozen at night and then warm up during the day. And that scarifies or cracks open or breaks open some of these seed that are just so hard. They're designed to to be there for years if they need to, until the environment is just right. And so you're not going to wait till the environment's just right. You're going to force it because you're a gardener. I want wildflowers now. And so you get the soil ready. It's pretty easy. I'll tell you how. And then you put your seed down. You put some light mulch, some organic stuff to keep them protected from basically the birds. And that's how you do it. And you're doing that the next, really, as the sooner the better. So the more they're exposed to this freeze and thaw, the better the harvest, the better the germination rate is going to be in your gardens. And so a few seed go a long way. So wildflower seeds are not like grass. So lawn type of grasses, you're putting very heavy, like 8 pounds per 100 square feet. It's some ridiculous thing. Wildflowers are ounces to the 100 feet. So it's like, they just go a long ways. And so one flower is going to come up and just take over. And they'll come up in waves. So they'll start growing at the end of February, March. They'll just come up in ever growing waves as each variety of seeds start to germinate and come up. So they come up not all at once, but at different rates. And they're kind of sensitive. Some are light sensitive. So many hours a day, they go, oh, it's spring, grow. Some are soil temperature. Oh, finally, the soil's warm enough. I will sprout. And so there's different triggers for different kinds of seed. But if you have a good mix, a native mix, that's what's going to happen. Here, let me put a caveat to that. Here's the negative. Here's what to watch out for. And again, my name's Ken. We're just friends. And I don't want my friends to make mistakes. And so a lot of the seed mixes you see sold, especially at the big box stores, the marts and things, they're wildflowers, but they're annuals. So those folks, they're going for price point. They don't care about quality. They don't care about next year. They only care about getting you to buy, pay $10 for this. And you just ask, we sold another one. Yeah. And so then they won't come back for you. So these are zinnias and they're annuals. They'll bloom for 1 year and then that's it. They're not going to come back again. So they don't get better and bigger over time. So you don't want an annual variety of wildflower. You want a mix or blend of perennial varieties that are for this altitude, for this climate. So you're going to take our seed at Waters Garden Center from Prescott, Arizona. You're going to take that down to Phoenix or Palm Springs or Tucson. It wouldn't work. They're made for elevation. They're made for this cooler, this freeze thaw. They're made for our environment. So you want a seed mix that's made for you, not boxed up in like Atlanta, Georgia, and then shipped over and sold to every store, all 2,000 stores. You don't want that seed mix. You'll be happy for 1 year, and then you'll be sorely disappointed. If you're going to do the work, do it where it's going to last you for years. At a wildflower patch, they should get more beautiful with age. They should spread with age. They should drift down that hillside. They should spread down that creek side and get even more beautiful with time. And so here's what to do. So as you're prepping your soil, wherever you want it. So I want it under my oak tree, or I want it down to hold in the hillside, this eroding away. You scrape off that area with a stiff tine rake. Usually you're just trying to open up the earth. That's all you're doing. And you're getting rid of the rocks, the debris, the old roots, things that are there that will prevent seed. Seed cannot germinate in rock. So you're trying to open up the earth. So get these rocks and you scrape it open so that you scarify or open up the earth so it can receive the seed. And you're getting rid of the rocks that heat up and just cause issues. And so that's okay. You just prep the soil. There, you got it. What I do is I've got a couple just stunning patches. I mean, people come in the backyard and they just go, whoa, that's pretty cool. There's butterflies and hummingbirds. Right now I've got roadrunners running around in the flower bed going, I wonder what's out here. Because I just cut them back for spring prep. And so there's lots of activity that come with wildflowers because they're wild. They're attracting the wild things out in your yard. And so I've cut those back. What I'll do is rake it up, spread my seed. I actually do a couple things. I will add some humic, 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 or it's a soil conditioner. It's humic acid is what it is. Humic acid, if you take a compost pile and boil it down to its last element, what you're left with is humic acid. Seeds love humic acid. If you know this, it encourages deeper roots is what it does. So it activates the soil so that the mycorrhizals and the worms are just they're just working in this. They're going to come in because they're attracted to this humic acid. So you spread that on there. It's like a fertilizer. It looks like coffee grounds. So you spread it out there and it's going to help those seeds as they germinate to have deeper tap roots, which means you have a longer bloom, larger blooms, more blooms as the season progresses, especially for these summer things. So gaillardias, echinaceas, coreopsis, these summer blooming flowers, they're going to be blooming in the heat. Well, you want them to have as deep a roots as you can. You get better flowers. And then I'll top dress that entire area with about maybe a ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch, or as light as you can go inch of premium mulch. So that's our mulch. We make it screened down real tight so it won't bury the seed, but it keeps the birds off, keeps them moist, keeps them from drying out, so you get a better germination rate. It ensures you get seed to soil contact, so that it needs that. If the seed are floating on top of other weeds or grasses, they're not going to germinate. They need to touch the soil. So this just ensures that you get that. Now, some of these seeds are so small, I can't even see where they landed. It's a problem. And so when I first started putting wildflowers out, I'd get them bunchy. So I'd go, okay, I think I spread in my hand, and I couldn't tell where they were all going. So I get clumps of wildflowers coming up. An insider tip, this is school of hard knocks. I came up with this one, hydromulch. I need to make my own hydromulch. And so I'll take a bag of premium mulch, which I just said you need some of that to keep the birds off. I'll put it in a wheelbarrow. I put my wildflowers into the mulch and I blend that into the mulch. I get two benefits. One, I save a step, so I don't have to spread mulch out there afterwards, but it helps me to spread it much evener. So now I'm taking a shovel, I'm spreading that out over the garden bed where I can see where that mulch layer is over there. Mulch is much easier to identify where it is than seed. You'll blend those seed into that mulch in the wheelbarrow, and they instantly disappear. And so this will help you to get a more even patch. I mean, it's a game changer. Why I didn't think of this earlier, I don't know. But now I recommend it in garden classes and to my friends over at Airwaves. It's a game changer. It really makes a difference. So summarize. Get a good seed mix. Get a native seed mix. If it's in a really pretty package, probably it's all annuals. If it's a cheap price, it's probably all annuals. In fact, they fill those packages up with annuals and top it off with vermiculite. It looks like seed, but it's not. It's just a trick to make it look cheaper. You want a good mix. Natives for your yard. Scrape open the earth with a stiff tine rake. Spread your seed out. Spread some humic over that. And keep it watered, a couple times a month. I don't know. That doesn't take much. Keep it moist, and that's good enough. And you're going to have a spectacular wildflower patch this year, even better next year.
Not everyone can grow wildflowers, but we'll make sure you're not one of them.
At Waters, we know which wildflowers sprout, thrive, and bloom with success.
We're wild about wildflowers with many of our own Arizona blends.
Like our Arizona native mix, butterfly and hummingbird mixes, and all are big, bold, and beautiful.
At Waters, we know wildflowers, and winter's a season to spread new seed.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So we've had some large gatherings of students at the weekly garden classes. So we've had a couple so far. They start in January. And so now we get into the full swing. So February, all through spring, we host a garden class every Saturday at 9:30 here at the Garden Center. So it's in the back greenhouse. Soil preparation. How do you get your soils ready? How do you get them going so that you can start planting? And you should be actively working your soils now. You should be looking to add manures, looking to add compost to those gardens because it makes a difference on how the plants grow through the rest of the year. We're really trying to gear up for this one. Mountain fruit trees and how to increase the heavy harvest. So if you want to have some edibles trees out in the yard, now's the time to start planting those. And we're starting to gear up with those. I just had some stunning. I mean, I've never seen plums this nice show up. I mean, they're instant, huge trees. They're beautiful. and they're going to produce fruit this year. So fruit trees are tricky. They got to be at least 5 to 7 years old before they start to produce. So you really want older, more mature trees, unless you want to wait 4 or 5 years. So we go into which varieties, fruit, which ones are proven, how to get the most out of them, how to fertilize, go into details on fruit trees. This one will be a biggie. It's always big every year. I don't know what to expect, but gardening for newcomers. And the class is over half the students at a class are new to the area this year. They're just trying to hone in, figure out what to do. And so that should be a powerful one. There we go into zones, what our soils are like, how to prep things, how to garden, it's kind of a cursory catch-all for everything, gardening for newcomers, but it'll be busy. You'll get a lot out of it. And then evergreens that bloom early. It keeps going on and on. Take a look at all those, watersgardencenter.com. There's a button in the very front of the website, classes. They're right there. So come in, bring your own chair if you're worried about a place to sit, because it has been full. I've got just over 50 chairs, but it seems to be trending more than that. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of exciting. People are wanting to garden. We're seeing this edible thing coming around. So you can now grow your own. It's cheaper to grow your own than buy them from the grocery store. You got to be, wow, how much things cost. I'm hearing that chicken sales are off the charts because people are starting to have their own chickens for eggs, that kind of stuff. So that's the trend right now. You should be you should be getting your pruning. You should start fertilizing everything. You can start planting as soon as that ground thaws. Roses are in. The fruit trees are in. We've had 3 semi-loads of plants. The place looks empty, but still it's coming around. We're starting to fill up the garden center with plants. And as soon as you want to get out there and prune, these plants are dormant. They'll take some cold. Don't worry about, oh no, snow came. They don't mind that. Plants are asleep. They're actively starting to wake up. So you've seen the buds swell on your maple trees, your fruit trees, the buds on the lilacs are huge. So you're seeing things happen.
Fruit cocktail trees turn any backyard into a veritable farmer's market.
At Waters, we've grafted onto one tree different types of cherries, apples, and pears for easy backyard fruit picking.
These small fruit trees grow in containers just off the patio in smaller yards. Anyone can grow a fruit cocktail tree.
You'll find braided cocktail trees with multiple fruits beautifully braided into one tree.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.